Let's take a look at some of my professional wrestling magazines from Japan. Now, I don't have all these complete, like I have all the American issues complete month by month, year by year. This is a work in progress. It wasn't something I ever set out to do, and it just kind of just started happening this way by accident. And once I ran out of things to collect in America, I kind of just gravitated to the Japanese issues. I've always loved the Japanese issues. I've only ever really grabbed one or two here and there because they're so expensive. But in the last 3 years or so, it just really grabbed me. So there was basically two companies that put out wrestling magazines, and one was called Monthly Pro. That came out in 1955, and there was a company called Gong, and they put out three different publications under the Gong umbrella. We're going to go over all three of them. It gets kind of confusing, so I'm going to kind of just blow through these, and just so I'm not really just going to name every month, because like I said, not every month is complete. I'm pretty damn close. I'm going to cover you from late 60 when I first started until, say, the end of 79, and I'll leave the 80s out. I don't have a lot of 80s issues, maybe just a couple of hundred. The issues changed in the 80s, and I really didn't like them, so I really like the early 70s and 60s issues. The first issue came out May of 1968. This is Gong Invitation to the Ring, and this is the mini version. The mini version is very, very, very hard to find, and I was very fortunate to have found that. This is we're jumping ahead because that's the only issue I have from 68. Now we're into August 1969, and you'll see in a lot of these magazines that they're Japanese issues, but you'll see all of our American wrestlers on the covers and all American wrestlers inside the magazines. So just because it's a Japanese magazine, it doesn't mean it's all Japanese wrestlers. And you'll see 90% of these covers, if it's not Antonio Inoki or the Giant Baba, it's an American wrestler. Like here we got, I don't remember any magazine covering Fritz von Erich when he won the AWA title from, I believe, Verne Gagne in 1970s. So here is a shot of him holding the title on a cover. I never even realized that. The Japanese had some fantastic coverage of our wrestlers. Just blowing through, there's an issue of Paul Jones on the cover. Dory Funk versus Antonio Inoki. You'll see Inoki a lot, you'll see Baba a lot, and they were in the same company together, Japan Pro Wrestling, until 1972, and that's when they made their split, and they went their each way. Baba went to All Japan, Antonio Inoki formed New Japan. Here's Rocky Johnson in Japan. A lot of these you'll see, the Japanese covered a ton of WWA Los Angeles wrestling, and when it was the NWA Los Angeles, when they were merged and also separate, maybe it's because they were so close to the shoreline from Japan to California, but they covered a ton of the NWA Los Angeles territory, way more than we ever covered in our magazines. A lot of their wrestlers would go there, and a lot of the California wrestlers would go out to Japan. They loved Mil Mascaras. You're going to find him on a million covers. They love the Funks. You'll see him on a million covers. Speaking of, they covered our champions fantastic. They have always had our champions on a pedestal and put the world title on a pedestal from the NWA, that is. Just some great coverage, and you've seen me talk about these before. You know how awesome the color pictures are inside. They're just fantastic magazines. These are really thick. I mean, there's well over 150 pages in these. There is some black and white pages as well, but in the beginning they're all color. They love the Sheik. There is a million magazines with the Sheik on the cover as well. I believe we are in 1172, so we're getting to the end. This is the Blackjacks versus the Crusher and the Bruiser in a cage. Great coverage of that match inside. A lot of great bloody covers in there, pictures in there. Okay, we're in 1973 right now, cruising along. This issue, I seen it sell for $6,000. I seen it sell for $4,000. There's a rare picture card of Andre the Giant in here that's worth a lot of money, and it's because he went by his original name, Monster, and however you pronounce his real last name, and it's very sought after. It sells in the thousands. Why? I don't know. I didn't pay that. Certainly did not. I got a very good deal on mine. But I was shocked when I see that sell on eBay, and it usually sells within an hour. People really are after that. Another great shot of the Sheik on the cover. They always put up a bloody shot with the Sheik. Okay, we are in 1975 now, cruising right along. You'll start to see some Mil Mascaris issues in the mid to upper 70s. There's a great shot of Harley Race when he got the original version of the 10 pounds of gold with the red velvet on the side. It's a really rare shot with him. It's the only magazine cover with him on the cover with that belt, and that is actually the night that he had lost that belt. So you'll see, as I said, 90% of the covers are American covers, and inside the magazine is 90% American wrestlers. So it isn't just Japanese magazine with wrestlers you never heard of before. It's all the popular guys from all over the United States. So we're moving along here. We're getting up to the upper 70s. This is a good issue. It has Andre getting slammed by Harley in this issue in color. Like I said, they love Mil. They love Mil's brother, Dos. They love his other brothers, like El Psychedelico. They cover all of Mil's brothers a lot in these issues. Most people didn't know Mil had two brothers wrestling. They know one, Dos Carlos, but there was two. Again, Abdul the Butcher on a ton of covers in the 80s with the Sheik. When they had some, just as I'm saying it, here it is, and just some crazy bloody shots, great color shots inside. And we're coming up to the end. I'm gonna stop. This is like 1980. This is where I kind of stopped it, and boom. Okay, so give me 1 second. I'm gonna move over and reset up to show you the next publication from Gong. So just give me 1 minute. Okay, give me 1 second while I straighten this back piece. Okay, so like I said, they had 3 different magazines that fell under the Gong umbrella. What you've seen just now was Gong Invitation to Ring, professional wrestling, boxing, kicking. They made a separate issue called Gong Special Issue, with these characters right here. It says special issue, and 1069 out of order, and 1169, and these are a lot thinner. There's maybe about 60 pages or so. These are very rare, very, very expensive for these Gong special issues, and I only have a handful of them because they're just ridiculous to find, and they cover strictly wrestling only. So there's Gong Invitation to the Ring and Gong Special Issue 1169. That's also Mil Mascaris' first cover. They loved Mil. Like I said, he's on the next 2. They got 1170 and June of 1970. That's all I have from the special issues. Like I said, that's like finding the pink whale. Finding those issues are extremely hard. Gong Invitation to the Ring put out another Gong issue called Separate Volume, and these characters on the side stand for Separate Volume, not to be confused with the 2 characters on this side saying Special Edition or Special Issue. Okay, these also came with these rare posters. I have it in the plastic, but these posters would come inside the magazine in the special issues. This is a double-sided 27 by 36 of Don Leo Jonathan, which is just incredible. You guys seen in my other videos the posters they give. That's how they would give them out in the special issues. So Gong Separate Volume, issue number 1. The first issue was 12 December 1969, and it's got Dory Funk on the cover with the Giant Baba. A very collectible issue, very expensive issue, not in the thousands, a couple hundred, and very hard to find. Issue number 1 of Gong. Like I said, I prefer Gong more. These are strictly wrestling. When I said the other ones covered boxing and kickboxing, it wasn't it wasn't a lot. It was maybe just 4 or 5 pages of boxing and a page or two of kickboxing, if at all. So not all of them would have the martial arts and boxing in it. Okay, I have most of these complete in 1970. I think I'm just missing one issue. This is 5, 6, yeah. So very close to completing the 1970 issue, and these are super, super hard to find. Very difficult. There's a nice shot of Kiniski with the title. You don't see him on a cover anywhere with the belt when he was the NWA champion. You'll see a lot of issues with Mascaras. They loved him to death, and he is on a ton of magazines. This magazine covers Mills' first tour in Japan. He was sought after for several years before he came out, and it was like the Beatles came when he came. And that entire magazine is dedicated to him, and the next issue as well. This is Gong separate volume special edition. This belongs in the other pile, but it's also a special edition, and it's also covered all Mascaras. I'll put it over there because it belongs in a different pile. Okay, so we're just cruising right along. We're into 1971 now. And like I said, I'm going to try to fly through these. This is Mills' other brother, El Psychedelico. A lot of people don't really know nothing about him. He didn't really wrestle outside of the Los Angeles area too much. A little bit in Japan and mostly in Mexico. So it's very rare to see him on a cover of a magazine. There's a great poster in there of all the 3 other brothers together. This is a great shot of Dory Funk on the cover. There's a very similar issue in America on the Apter magazine, and they cut his belt off right here, which was a horrible thing to do. But the Japanese made up for it because there is almost the same exact photo, and it's a full belt shot for guys who love belts. Hold on, this is another ridiculously expensive issue because of the Andre the Giant card. You know what? I'll show it to you real quick. I wanted to fly through this video, but you got to see it. When they had cards, just like similar to the cards they had in America on those couple issues with the rare wrestling cards that you cut out. Only these are real actual cards. They're hard, they're thicker, they're a card stock, and you slice it out. There's a dotted line to cut it out, and it's separate from the magazine itself. You can see it's a small page. And every so often they will put cards. And this issue has the Andre the Giant card in it when he went by the name Monster. That is a very expensive card. Sells into the thousands. Why? I have no idea why collectors go after this. I would never pay that kind of money. I got this at a very, very reasonable deal. Honestly, didn't even know nothing about that card until a guy's like, "You have that card?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Huh." And I really knew nothing about it until he, gave me the rundown. And I started watching them pop up on eBay, and they're gone within minutes if you find them. And especially if they're at the right price meaning into the hundreds, not the thousands. It is crazy for that. I would never spend that kind of money on something like that. But here we are. This is great coverage of Bruno and Pedro match from 73 or 72 rather. This has got excellent coverage of the Destroyer and Baba with their war. It's a rare shot of Mil wearing a suit. Here's a rarer look. There's a couple rarer looks of Harley with the belt. Here is another one with him with the crown jewel belt. You don't see him on any other cover with that belt, and that's a rare shot. Right before he beat Dory Funk for that belt. Here is another one that's got a poster. I'm not sure what the poster is. It's just on the back. Here's a nice shot of all 3 world champs consecutive. Dory lost it to Harley. Harley lost it to Jack. And then here's all 3 together. And there's a nice poster inside of all 3 with them holding the red leather belt, which was not around for very long. Like I explained a few minutes ago, that belt was changed quickly and went to the black leather, 10 pounds of gold. This has got all the coverage in this issue of Funk losing to Harley for the NWA World Title. That's a great shot inside there. A lot of great shots inside there. Here's his last look with the red 10 pounds of gold, and Jack's first shot of him with the red 10 pounds of gold. Oh, this is a special issue. I can tell by the way it feels. Yes, this is a special issue. I can feel how thin it was. That's why. Very expensive. This has got 90% of the Mascaras Destroyer feud in 1973. Great magazine. Very expensive, and actually belongs in the special pile. Actually, I got to separate those. So we are in 1974. Bob Backlund's in the wrong order here. This is 1977, obviously, because Bob has the belt, but we're in 1974. Sorry about that. I really didn't go through these before I grabbed them. I just kind of like to just make these videos on the fly without actually, preparing anything. But here's a great shot of the Sheik with the blade in his mouth. Now we got the first look of Jack with the black leather gold on the 10 pounds of gold. Another great shot, Abdullah and the Sheik, more like one of our Stanley Weston After magazine covers as we would get in the States here. First shot of Bruno Sammartino with the gold winning the title from Stan Stasiak. This also has coverage of Pedro losing the title to Stan in color. This is a great one to find if you can find it. This is a mud match issue. People laugh to hear mud match, but when you get two Arabs like the Sheik and Tiger Jeet Singh battling it out in a mud match, that's meaningful. To the Arabs, a mud match was, like the ultimate battle. And that took place, I believe it took place in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. Our magazine's never even covered it, and the Gong's got some great coverage and full color of the mud match in there. So we're in 1975, just cruising along. This is a Mil Mascaras special of Gong, and it's got mostly all coverage of Mil and his matches in there. This is the talk about Inoki versus the, what's his name, Muhammad Ali before that match was taking place. This was the hype up issue to that. Here's Mil's other brother, Dos Caras. And there's a lot of good coverage in here of Mil and Harley's battle for the NWA title. So, these magazines were cut a little bit smaller than our magazines. They're just a little bit shaved down the sides, a little bit smaller. Almost the same size in height, just a little bit smaller, but they're a lot thicker. There's like, a couple hundred pages in these. This is not when Antonio Inoki won the WWF belt. This is when they were tag team partners, and then they would soon turn on Backlund and challenge him for the title and win the title from Bob in '79. And this has got all the coverage from Inoki and Ali in this issue. There's a rare shot of Buddy Rogers when he came out of retirement for a match, and they put him on the cover. This is Chris. A lot of people didn't know this. Bob Backlund won the Sheik's. I'll just show it to you. He won the Sheik's United States title in the '70s. A lot of people don't even know that match happened, or Backlund even won the belt. There's a good shot of him in here with that belt. Give me a sec. Yeah, here it is. Here's Bob winning the Sheik's belt, and he's got both belts on, and he was the WWF champion as well as the Sheik's United States Detroit version belt. Here's just another cool shot of that match, and the Sheik's all bloodied up. Here's the two men coming to the ring wearing their belts. These came, with posters, like I said. Pull out, I think there's 3 posters in here. Like here's one of Dusty Rhodes with the NWA belt. And there's another black and white poster here with Mascaras with the America's belt. And there looks to be another poster here. Yeah, it's with Jerry Lawler. Okay, I'm surprised these are in black and white. Usually they're in color, but you see what they give you: 3 trifold pull-out posters. I mean, come on, plus all the color, coverage of this magazine. If you're a fan of Backlund or a fan of the Sheik, and you never knew he won that title, it's in this issue here with, I believe that's Florida title Dusty's got on. I'm not sure. I believe it is. But yeah, this issue's got excellent coverage of Backlund versus the Sheik when he won that belt. And good luck finding that information in an American issue, because they don't even talk about it, let alone even show a picture of it. Okay, I think we're getting into close to 1980 now. We're getting to the end. And I do have all the issues from 1980 complete. I think I'm 1 short from 1970, and I'm maybe 2 or 3 short from 71, 72. So I'm almost there with completing these guys, but I wasn't going to show these, but there is some collectors out there that never seen these issues, or they think of, a Japanese magazine. They think it's strictly Japanese coverage or Japanese wrestlers. And as you can see, these are all American coverage, all American wrestlers, especially when they make the tour out to Japan. And getting to the end of the line, because these were actually out of order already. Yeah, as I showed these in a previous video, so they're a little bit out of order. So there it is. These are just my Gong issues. I'll make a video on the monthly Pro. Gong in 1983 went to a weekly issue, and they were come out 4 times a month, sometimes 5 issues a month, depending on the day of the week that it fell on. And they stopped coming out with the monthly. So it got really out of hand with collecting all those. I mean, they're so hard to find, those weekly issues. And most of those were throwaways. People really didn't save them in Japan there. They had them for a little while and they threw them out. They didn't save them. So therefore, they become very expensive and hard to track down. I don't like, per se, those issues in the 80s as much as the 80s we got from the Stanley Weston issues. I thought they were far superior style-wise. And in the 80s and the 60s and 70s, I love the Japanese issues, without a doubt. So there it is. I hope if any Japanese collectors out there, I was able to expose you to a few magazines you've never seen before. And like I said, I'm not far from complete, but I'm far from complete, if you know what I mean. But I'm going to get there. I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. So there it is, man. I hope you enjoyed the Japanese issues, and I will see you in the next.